Hi everyone, welcome again to my happy spot. This morning I'm going to share some quilts with you that have woven borders or woven elements in them. My first workshop was an introduction to my woven technique, and obviously a lot of you don't know about my quilts, and I thought I should share them with you. This particular quilt has got a woven border and it has got woven blocks in it as well. What I also need to tell you right now is that you will see a lot of these cathedral window shapes coming up. That will come up in a future workshop, which is a really, really lovely workshop. I'm not afraid to use color, as you can see, and I encourage you, if you are tentative about your color use, just do it. Just do it. Just do it from your gut feeling. And you'll see in the weaving it really doesn't matter. In fact, the more contrast in the colors and the patterns on the fabric, you get a far better result. This one down here is also another, once again has the cathedral windows, but it has got the woven border, as you can see. There's also another technique which I'll be doing at a later stage, which are the little embroidered centers. That is a really popular technique that I teach and will come up in a future video. This border is a little more muted, I think. It's stitched more so that it almost has like a skin-like feel to it, even when you touch it. This particular quilt is one of a series of quilts I made about Zimbabwe, I guess, or Rhodesia as I knew it. I grew up there and only left there. I actually left there as a married woman with my children as well. And the woven part of this it's the Rhodesian flag. It was a flag that was given to me, I can't remember when, but it was in a packet and lay in a cupboard for a very, very long time, and unfortunately got very moth-eaten, like really badly moth-eaten. So particularly the green part. So I decided that I wanted to do something special with it and save it before it got too bad. So I wove other fabrics into the green on the left and the right hand side. That was part of the flag, the green background, and I wove into that. It is a very meaningful quilt to me. There are some wonderful words written on there that perhaps at some stage I should perhaps share on my blog. I'm not sure, but it's a very for somebody who lived in Rhodesia, or who in fact has lived in Africa at all and has been forced to leave through some situation. It's a very emotional quilt. I actually displayed it in Birmingham and was watching people looking at it, and at one stage there was a mother with her two daughters sitting on the carpet in front of this quilt, holding each other and absolutely sobbing. They must have read the words and it moved them. I've seen them more than one. I've seen other people. I saw a couple at another exhibition also, like just with their arms around each other's shoulders, and they were very emotional about it. This particular quilt was part of a challenge, and the challenge was to use the blue fabric, which is called shweshwe, which is a South African fabric, traditional fabric worn by one of our ethnic groups. And it's also actually the group that wear it a lot are the Xhosa people, and they live here in the Eastern Cape where I live. So this was a challenge given out. We were given the blue fabric and we had to add to it. That once again, the weaving is in the borders, but I have broken it up, as you can see, with the black strips. Once again, the cathedral windows on it are going to be part of a future video. This particular quilt has a very much simpler border than I normally do. I haven't used a lot of fabrics, and there certainly isn't a lot of stitching, but some quilts just need that quieter border to showcase the center. And in the center of this quilt are again those elements that will come up in a future workshop, the embroidered bits in the middle. This quilt was made as a response to a challenge that had a very limited fabric. I can't remember exactly how many, but very few fabrics were allowed. And the orange one, the very bright orange one, was the one we had to use. So I really worked those fabrics. I joined bits together and I beaded on some, and I cut the tiniest little, the frames on the pictures, for instance, are cut out of that stripy fabric. I really got the fabrics to work for me because I don't work well with a limited selection of fabrics. The border therefore really looks a lot more complicated than it actually is. It doesn't have a lot of fabrics in it, but because of the way I cut, which will come up in my future video, it was the way I cut the strips that created that very complicated looking border. This one at the bottom was probably, I was trying to remember, it could possibly have been my very first woven border that I did. Also very simple, but it was very effective. And you can see that I didn't use a lot of, the grey was my background fabric, and then I just went with very much softer colours than I often use in some of the strips. But it was very effective, it worked. On this particular quilt, I took a piece of fabric with butterflies on it. I cut them out and I used fusible web and fused them onto the woven border. You can also see that what I've done is, just for a little bit of interest, I've added in some embroidered feelers. I like to do that. I like to add something that when somebody walks up to the quilt, they say, wow, look at that. The other thing is that this particular technique on here, the butterfly, is one of the future videos I'll be doing. So look out for that one. This particular quilt not only has woven borders, but it has some woven blocks in it as well. Just a very simple little block. I actually made it for my son. He's mad about fishing. I've actually got flyers and things I need to add to it as well. You can see, hopefully you can see that I've actually added a little bit of glitz. I've used some metallic threads in the stitching on this particular one, which I don't often do, but it just reminded me, I think, that water maybe, I don't know what brought that to mind. This particular quilt, they selected 35 artists from South Africa and 30 from 2 other countries, and they gave us film directors. And I unfortunately got Fritz Lang, and he made horror movies. This particular movie was made in 1931, and it's called M. Absolutely awful, awful movies this man made. And this was really a quilt I did not enjoy making. But in this case, the background is woven. This particular quilt is called Ancient Paths, which speaks of the path, the routes that the elephants take. The weaving on this is intricate, but only because of the way I've cut the fabrics. I've used a lot of decorative fabrics. I wanted that subdued earthiness to it, and then the pops of the blue representing water and green, perhaps the foliage, but I did want it to have that subdued earthy look to it. It's a very big quilt, heavy quilt as a result of the decorative fabrics. But like I said before, I'm not fussy about, I like to use 100% cotton, and a lot of the decorative fabrics obviously fortunately are 100% cotton. It's just easy, they're easier to work with. But I'm actually not, it's more about the look the fabric gives me. And sometimes if I have to use polycottons in there, I really don't mind. I sometimes do use your bling glitzy fabrics, but just a word of caution, they don't wear well. Satin seems to disintegrate very quickly, and then you've got this beautiful quilt. I've got one upstairs that unfortunately I used satin in it, and the satin deteriorated, and I have to do something about it. I will, and I'll end up with a really lovely quilt again, but it was very disappointing. Please remember to like and subscribe so that you can see my future videos. In the next video, I will be sharing with you the making of a really fun little block that can become the center of a small wall quilt, and onto that we will add our first set of woven borders.